So I am Oliver Sylvester-Bradley, and I run the Open Co-op, which organises an annual conference and has done for the last 4 years now, which has focused on platform co-ops and growing the cooperative economy. But within that, we run a number of projects which are trying to help bring together the collaborative regenerative economy, basically, and make it easier for people to be involved. So one of the projects I'm working on there is a mapping project in which we're trying to work out the best way of building the map of the space of the collaborative economy. And we've run sessions on that for the last 3 or 4 years, which are always interesting because people have various different opinions. But the conclusion seems to be that no matter what you try and do, maps go out of date. So we've now launched a new project which lives at murmurations.network, which explains an alternative approach, which is basically a protocol for people to be able to share information about themselves and their organizations without having to go and put that information on somebody else's platform. Instead, they host that information themselves, which means that hopefully it never goes out of date, right? Because if there's one thing that you update, it's probably your own website, unlike all of the listings that you go and make on Google or on TripAdvisor or wherever else you might go and put yourself on a directory. Those things inevitably kind of go out of date when people move or their website moves or any of their details change. Whereas this just basically draws information out of your existing website that you've already stored in your existing database and just pings it to an index, which then anybody else can pull the information from in order to build relevant maps of, you know, whatever they want to do, whether it be co-ops in Scotland or primary schools in Manchester. So that's happening, and we're really excited about that. I'm collaborating with Adam McKenty on that and various others as well. Christina from the Dig Life community is really keen on kind of getting involved. So yeah, very pleased about that. And the other major project that we're working on is the mutual credit project, which lives at opencredit.network. And the idea here is that we launch a UK-wide mutual credit network with open source software and cooperative governance, meaning I think that it will be the first ever network of its kind in the world, because to have both open source software and democratic governance. And the idea is there that basically we use it as an example to show what's possible and how businesses can transact without needing to use fiat-based money. And then what we hope to do is to make that software available so that anybody else in any other country can go and set up the same thing and copy not only our code for the software, but also our membership agreements and our legal structure. And then the next thing what we will be working on once we've launched that software is an API in order to be able to link those bits of software together in order to build what we kind of call a global credit commons. You know, we're meaning basically an international system whereby anybody in any country can transact with anybody else without needing to use fiat bank issued money, which was created as interest-bearing debt. I think that's fairly swift summary. Build. So firstly, yes, my main frustration with the present system and the reason that we're running the mutual credit project is that I believe that the root cause of all of our issues really comes down to the way that money is created as interest-bearing debt. And whilst we continue to operate inside that system using bank-based money, we're basically supporting the kind of current capitalist regime and all of its elites and offshore banking and the whole, everything else that stems for that, including the climate crisis and the species extinction and everything else. So that's my kind of main current bugbear and the thing that I would love to see changed. You know, it's true that there's no law saying that we have to use the bank's money. Like, nobody forces us to do that. We are at liberty to go and create our own credit and issue it between ourselves and our businesses and to trade using alternative currencies. And if we do that, we should be able to undermine the present system and do what Buckminster Fuller taught us. You know, instead of campaigning against the present system, we can just make a new system which makes the present one obsolete. So that is, you know, my big focus. But to step back and talk about it in terms of the kind of collaborative economy that I think we want to see built, it's that I feel that we're not really operating at scale yet. You know, there's lots of all these like great little projects and lots of people working on brilliant stuff. But my main frustration in that space is that we haven't worked out how to collaborate at scale. So there's probably people doing the same thing as me in Italy and New Zealand and everything else, but finding them and collaborating with them seems to be a lot harder than, you know, posting pictures of cats on Facebook. And that is something that I think as a sort of sector that we need to solve first, or as soon as possible, if we hope to make a difference at scale. So I think that what I would really like to achieve, what I'm trying to give rise to, is basically a more detailed understanding of money is my current focus, because I think it's true to say that most people don't really know what money is. If you ask somebody what money is, where does it come from, who issues it, how is it created, where does it go away, people kind of get lost with their answers. And considering it's so fundamental to our economy and the way everything works, that seems quite shocking. I mean, I think the kind of the money myth really needs busting. And, you know, a good example of that is what I was mentioning earlier, like the Extinction Rebellion protests, I think, have been instrumental in putting the climate crisis on the agenda. However, when I went to the protests and I saw people banging their drums and waving their flags and everything, and then I watched a whole line of Extinction Rebellion protesters filing into Tesco's and buying their lunch with fiat money and watching that money go back to Tesco PLC. And then they came out and ate their lunch and threw away all the plastic crap into the bins provided. But it's those kind of actions which support the present regime and its capitalist elites. And so, you know, capitalism doesn't really care what you do or what you think or even what you say. All it cares about is the fact that you're spending its money. And whilst we all carry on doing that, to my mind, it doesn't really matter what else we do. We're still supporting the capitalist system. So I think we need to gain a greater degree of understanding about what money is and the power that it has, and our ability to create our own money and transact outside of the present extractive economy in order to really be able to deliver change. So I have another little plan up my sleeve to try and help make that happen. But we'll wait and see whether it works.